Montego Bay. Um, Me and my fiance, we've had very interesting conversations with some of the local Jamaican community and some of the people who was giving us services here, some of the travel agency people. I'm not going to say their names because I do not want them to get in trouble with the government nor with their respective businesses. But what I've been learning through talking to the people and a little bit of research, of course, is Googling a couple of things that the things that we think are Jamaican are not Jamaican. They're not from Jamaica. They may be a product of Jamaica, but it's not made in Jamaica. So let me just run down a couple of products that I found out. The Red Stripe beer is no longer belongs to Jamaica. It's actually been bought out from a eastern or western country. Also, the aluminum, which is Jamaica's largest export, this would occurs now. This is what you call economic oppression, and the government here in Jamaica is actually profiting off of this. And what I'm learning from numerous of people here is that the government essentially allows outside Eastern and Western countries to come in and buy companies, organizations, land to cultivate. Take, for instance, the aluminum, the number one export in Jamaica. I know a lot of us thought it was rum, a lot of us thought it was maybe coffee, sugar cane, etc. But it's supposed to be aluminum. But what they do is they export aluminum to China and then have the locals to buy the aluminum back from China. It's like they're cultivating the raw materials and then shipping it to China, and then the locals who are starting businesses and or building houses or any other sorts of products that they may need aluminum from, they buy it back from China. This is, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, this is all too common when you are putting a country under economic oppression. And this is what I was telling people, that a lot of countries in the Caribbean, a lot of melanated countries where I'm telling you, everybody, majority of the Jamaicans are my complexion or darker. So you're dealing with highly melanated, give me 1 second. But you're dealing with highly melanated countries that are being systematically oppressed by the Western and Eastern world. And when it comes out the East, it's mostly China. So when I look at this, there's a lot of things that he was naming off. The airport here, Montego Bay, is actually owned by Trinidad. The airport here in Montego Bay, Jamaica, is actually owned by Trinidad. One of the workers here, he was telling us how that Jamaicans absolutely don't own anything. They don't own anything. And that how the infrastructure is so crooked that they don't have national services. And the reason how this conversation came about was a tourist asked him, does the government give them government assistance? And he started laughing. He's like, no, there's no government assistance. Either you work or you die. You either work or you're homeless. And so how this came about, he was like, even the rum was bought out from a Western and Eastern country. It's very sad once you know this, and believe it or not, a lot of Jamaicans know this information, but if they were to reveal this information very publicly, they will be scolded and or killed. He was like, hey, listen, they don't want this information essentially to get out from a Jamaican, because especially if you're in Jamaica and America, you might find some other channels, you might find some other people who are willing to give this information because maybe they have their dual citizenship. But this information, as far as even Air Jamaica, is not owned by Jamaica. Air Jamaica is not owned by Jamaica. The Appleton brand for rum, which I actually bought some, is not ran by Jamaica. The Jamaican beer, Red Stripe, is now owned by Jamaicans. The aluminum is shipped out to China, and then Jamaicans have to buy back, even though that aluminum is their number one export next to coffee. Jamaican coffee is actually absolutely delicious, by the way. But all these other companies and things that he was letting us know, they are all imports because the government has allowed foreign entities to come in and get kickbacks. And I said, well, why do you think, because I have my own rhetoric why I think. I said, but why do you think the government is doing this? He says it's easy. He says he's trying to keep the poor people poor while they stay elevated. While they stay elevated. And I said, well, America is somewhat like that too. But he said, no, man, it's different. He said, we're not just being oppressed by the UK. But we're being oppressed by the UK. We're being oppressed by America. We're being oppressed by Canada. We're being oppressed by China. So when you look at all these countries that are oppressing these Caribbean islands, and if you looked at my video where I showed you all these Caribbean islands where black people, you and I, are being controlled by Europe, essentially the UK, under the Queen, Jamaica, it was Turks and Caicos, Grenada. The list is extensive. Some people know it's just Canada, Australia. No, it's not only Canada and Australia, but what people don't understand about the UK, mostly England, under the Queen is the sovereign authority, even though she reigns in Europe, or even though she reigns in the UK. And that's what I've been trying to tell people, that when you don't have outside influence, you can govern your country the way you want to. Now, they could probably blame it on the government, and that's partially true. But a lot of this has to do with Western and Eastern powers not only controlling their government, not only controlling their economics, but listen, majority of Jamaicans are not doing well. Majority of them don't have cars. They still live in a third world country. Now, Brazil is a second world country. They're doing this a little bit more than Jamaica. But when you come here, you will see these large, lavish houses that are ran down. That is when the European powers were here and they were actually living here. But now you notice, now that all the wealth and all the money they have extracted from all these Caribbean and beautiful tropical islands where indigenous black people are from, they went back to Europe to spend their wealth. That's why you see a lot of whites, well, other than South Africa trying to crack down on white European imperialism, but they went back to their country after they extracted diamonds and gems and rubies and oil and all of the sorts of natural resources. Now, this is where I take my hat off. I don't want to butcher his name, but the president of Ghana. The president of Ghana is a very great man, because he knows that his life is in danger, because he's standing up to Switzerland. He's standing up to France. And he said, hey, listen, we're not going to keep exporting our raw materials to you, chocolate, and you're making millions and billions of dollars off of our extract. He said, no, what we're going to do is we're going to stop the exportation of raw cocoa, and we're going to cultivate our own chocolate. And if you want to buy it then you can buy it. And of course, Switzerland didn't like this, because guess what? These white European and Eastern European countries, they put their foot on our necks. They've been putting their foot on our necks and our economies around the world for far too long. And finally, presidents like from the one for Rwanda, the one from Tanzania, Ghana, and hopefully the Nigerian president is going to turn around here pretty soon. And I think the Kenyan president is kind of trying to step up, even though a lot of these countries I just named in Africa, they have taken Chinese loans, billions of dollars. And hopefully these loans are structured where if they can't pay it back, they still don't take their land. Maybe they pay them taxes or something. But when I think about all of these black countries around the world and how we as a people are not only divided, but we are economically oppressed. See, in America, because it's white ran, we don't have those same issues. We're the richest country in the world. So when we look at our poor people and look at their poor people, our poor people damn near look like rich in some countries. But for our country, we're absolutely been economically oppressed. And economic oppression in America doesn't come in the form of exportation and importation. It comes into you being shunned, you being blocked out of business deals, like in the hair industries when it comes to black women. When black women trying to start hair salons and black beauty supply stores, most of the distributors, most of the manufacturers are what? Asian, mostly Korean and Chinese. But they don't want to do business with black people, even though they're selling black products, even though they're selling to black people. And this is another form of economic oppression. When it comes to you going out and you trying to apply for a job, you don't know you're being economically and racially profiled and discriminated upon because you're not getting the job. Okay, you're not getting the job. And you never know why you're not getting the job half the time. So this is information that we already know, but when you see it on such a global scale, when it comes to a small island like Jamaica, where it's absolutely beautiful here, the palm trees, and okay, listen, one of the drivers told me this. He said, the driver told me, he said, if we were still being ruled by the British, we would be doing a lot better. He said if we were still being ruled by the British, we would be doing a lot better. And I was like, well, why would you say that? He said, well, they will continue to develop the country and the infrastructure, and we'll be similar to some like America, something like that. And I said, I think that we would have been better off on our own. And he made a good point. He said, well, initially, he said, but now, you know, they're selling off Jamaica to all these other countries, and they're controlling the resources, they're controlling the government, they're controlling the economy. And when I really thought about it, I said, you know what? It makes sense because Haiti gained their freedom back in, was it 1804, when they rose up against their French enslavers and killed them all. And ever since then, the Western and Eastern world has isolated Haiti worse than the world isolates Cuba. Okay, and majority of Haitians look like who? Look like me, look like you, dark-skinned, melanated people. Okay, and they have excluded them from the world import and export. I mean, when the last time you saw something that said a product of Haiti or imported by Haiti? Very, very rare. I'm not saying it's not out there, but they've essentially boxed out, not boxed in, but boxed out Haiti. So when I look at the economic depression, it's a global conglomerate. It's a global agreement. It's a global contract to, hey, these countries right here, if they don't allow us to do this, then we're not going to allow them to trade, import, and export around the world. Haiti, Jamaica, other melanated tropical islands. Matter of fact, all the islands are melanated in some form or fashion. There's no white tropical islands. They couldn't survive without sunblock. But we can. They can't survive. So you know where majority of Caucasian people are from. They're from the Caucasus Mountains, okay, in Europe. And it really sad to my heart because I couldn't give you guys all the information about all, the infrastructure, the cars, everything is imported. They don't make their own cars. Jamaicans don't have any cars. Do they have the room to make their own cars? Absolutely. Do they have the materials, the raw materials to make their own cars? Absolutely, with the aluminum. And they could be trading around the world, but the government has allowed other countries to come in and buy businesses and buy organizations. I mean, when I thought about Red Stripe beer, you just think, oh, that's made in Jamaica. That's made by black people. No, it's not. It's made by white people. The resort that we were at was called the Royalton White Sands, and right beside it was the Royalton Blue Waters. This resort, everybody that works there, Jamaican. I said, who owns this resort? They said, I Mr. Hunter. I said, white? They said, yes, white from Canada. So here you have a Canadian billionaire, got a resort in Jamaica. Now, granted, some people say, well, without him building that resort, they might not have had the jobs. But I beg to differ. If they just would have left us the hell alone when our ancestor was in Africa, the development, the technology that we already invented and created, I think that I truly believe that we would have been more advanced than the Europeans. The only thing that really helped the Europeans was China, believe it or not. China with gunpowder and China with paper. Now, Egyptians created the first form of paper, but with that information and technology, China made the first standardized paper, okay? So we are the first creators of paper, period, but they're the first ones who standardized it in the form that we know of today. But when it comes to gunpowder, black magic, what they used to call it, black powder, that advanced Europeans' technology for war. See, they were more war-driven countries than the islands, the indigenous people around the world, and then also the melanated people in Africa. The Europeans They were all about conquering and warring. Now, we was warring against ourselves, but we wasn't thinking about advanced weaponry. We wasn't all about war. And when you go to these countries, man, and you meet people that look like you, they speak a different language or a different dialect, or here they speak patois, which is a broken English, broken French, broken Creole, and broken Spanish. So it sounds like a different language, but it's just kind of all of them mixed up together. And they could talk right beside you, and like, I don't know what he's saying. You'll catch some words, um, but what you understand is, again, the reason for that is not only transatlantic slavery and chattel slavery, the reason why they have all these different languages, but all of this boils down to money, 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 money. And I've been telling you guys for a very long time that regardless of what you subscribe to, you love watching entertainment, you love watching relationship information, you love science, whatever it is, at the end of the day, the main source of it all is money. And countries like Jamaica and other Caribbean and tropical islands are systematically and economically oppressed because of Western and Eastern powers. We have to change this. We have to make it not only be educated and informed, but we have to start really to push people just like we do ourselves in America, to push people to take back. But the problem is, it's so ingrained, it's so enriched in the people to just take it. If you would have heard these two guys that we were talking to, and I'm gonna release a video here of this gentleman talking. They know far well of the situations here in Jamaica, but it's like they're crippled, they're handicapped, because if they speak out, if they rise up, they're fearful of the government, that the police officers, that the military will kill them. He told us today, he said that the police officer worked against the people. They work for the government, but against the people, not the other way around. It's not about law and order. It's just about, you better not say nothing about what you know is going on here in this island, or they'll get rid of you. And another guy was telling us how he have applied for a visa to come to America 7, 8 times. You come to Jamaica as an American, you don't need a visa. See, they need our tourism to stay alive. They said the number one source of income for Jamaicans is tourism. Not their export of aluminum, because their raw materials are sent out to China, then they have to buy it back from China. That's absolutely insane. Not Jamaican coffee beans, not Jamaican rum, because again, those things are not owned by Jamaicans. They're owned by white and Asian people. So this oppression has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And as we all know it, the way that they took power from us was through violence, war, torture, coercion, manipulation. And the only way that I can see now that we're going to take any power back, a smidgen, is by the same ways that they took it from us. This is Financial Literacy 101. Give this video a thumbs up on the way out. Learn money, even when it hurts, and be inspired. I'm out. You guys have a great day. Hey, honey. I can hear you.